we'll be jumping into our discussion zone. Today, we're drawing the curtains on it all, the governance from the Capitol Hill to Uganda. We're looking at it all. And so, I have my co hosts. Actually, the three, four here right now in the studio with me. But before I actually bring them on board, a quick run up. So, we actually spoke about what happened, the aftermath of the riots that took place at Capitol Hill in the United States. And some of the chain, should I say, the chain reaction or effects that are coming is you have certain brands who don't want to be caught in the fallout of the whole thing. They want to call it more like a potentially traitorous act. So they're actually pulling away from political donations. And we have some of them being 3M. So 3M has said that it's going to pause its federal and state political expenditures for the first quarter of the year. You also have Airbnb, and in a statement, Airbnb said it would withhold support from lawmakers who voted against election certification. Amazon also said in a statement that they will suspend their PAC contributions from those who voted against election certification. We have American Airlines, and according to them, they said it will take a 3-month pause on political giving. Also, American Express has said that the company will no longer support those who objected to the results of the election. AT&T, Bank of America, BlackRock, Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, Boeing, BP, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Charles Schwab, Citibank, CME Group, Coca-Cola, Comcast, Commerce Bank Shares, ConocoPhillips, Deloitte, Deutsche Bank, Dow Chemical Company, Ernst& Young, ExxonMobil, Facebook, Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Google, Goldman Sachs, H&R Block. We have Hallmark, Hilton, Intel, JP Morgan Chase, KPMG, Lay University, Marriott, MasterCard, McDonald's, Microsoft, Middlebury College, Morgan Stanley, Nike, Northrop Grumman, PG of America. I mean, these are like, it's a tall list. If I want to take you through all, it's a like really tall list. The Walt Disney Company, Walmart, Visa, all these people have actually decided that they're pulling away and they're actually going to suspend their contributions to the people who objected to the election certification. This has brought to light what it really is like, how the game of politics really is like. Like, there's no brand out there that will want to be associated with something that is known as bad or as wrong. Anything that could cause a dent in their image, they would pull away from that. And basically, that's what we're seeing after the riots that took place at the Capitol. And they're not the only people. Initially, it started with social media suspending the accounts, and people thought that was the end of it. Then we had two of the major investment banks also doing the same, putting a hold on their political donations and givings. And now we've seen like it's become like a chain reaction. Almost everybody is following through in the same path, in the same footsteps. But I have my co-host in the studio with me, and today we're gonna start. So let me start with Hafiz.
Happy.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Welcome back. So we've actually seen what is happening in America. I mean, it's like corporate America just like taking their toys.
It's just corporate America being corporate America. That's all it is. But speaking of events, in the aftermath of everything we saw happen on the 6th of January,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't believe in 5 days' time we are talking about Donald Trump in the extents. Really. uh, his presidency has provided us a lot of content,
Yeah.
whether good or bad. I mean, it was just an administration that kept on giving. For those that were looking to slight him or to punch him at every turn, I mean, they didn't have to dig deep. He just kept providing these
He gave
contents
them what they needed.
himself. I mean, because when he assumed office, for me, I was thinking, hey, and the first few days he kept making mistakes, and very common mistakes, diplomatic mistakes,
Pulling
I would
out
say.
of, yeah.
I would say that. Then I was like, okay, look, maybe he's still learning the ropes. Cut him some slack. But there was just no end in sight. And we saw it get difficult as the day went by. And remember the Kelly and Conway incident where she the alternative facts fame, that is. I mean, these were people that even tried to defend him. His people tried to defend him, and they ended up, getting themselves in all kinds of, laughable situations. I mean, this is a man that said one thing or says one thing, and that's the
That's
other.
that's
Yes,
true.
I mean, I remember him saying, defending himself against, accusations of being a racist, and he said, "Look,
Mm.
I have no racist bone in my body." Then he goes onto Twitter and retweets a video of his supporters saying white power.
Yeah.
I mean, so what exactly are you doing? I mean, and
Okay.
even in the run up to the elections, we saw that even the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, and we know what they stand
Yeah.
for,
Mm.
came out to throw his support behind Donald Trump. You got the opportunity to talk about it. All you have to do is distance yourself from him.
That's the thing.
But he didn't do that. He kept saying, "I don't know David Duke." Who doesn't know David Duke? So, I mean, Trump is a complex character.
He
He's one that, keeps the wheels of discussions ongoing. But in relation to everything that has happened to him since then, I mean, we've seen a lot of things happen. Now, on Monday, that is, I
Mhm.
said, look, on this same platform, I was saying that, look, the only reason that a lot of the folks he considers allies or business partners are tolerating him is out of respect for the office he occupies. Once he gets out there, he's fair game.
Yeah.
He's ordinary Donald Trump.
It's like the shield has been taken off.
Exactly. And that's what we are seeing. Because of course, as President Donald Trump, he controls resources, he wields power. Of course, you would have brands doing businesses with him. But once he's out there, I mean, he's just ordinary Donald Trump. And we are just seeing that happen. I mean, you think this is bad? Wait till he gets out.
Yes, the rest is actually going to come.
Yes,
Now, one thing we've realized is he's actually the first president to be impeached
twice
twice, and
in a session.
it's so interesting. The second impeachment, for the first one, we know the Democrats were like, really going for
Yeah,
it. But for this second and recent impeachment,
not
it was
Republicans.
bipartisan.
Yes, so we
You
had
had
some
about 10
Republicans. Yeah.
Republicans who actually went ahead to vote for him to be impeached again.
Donald Trump. I mean, you'd imagine that in your last few days in office, you'd want to keep a cool head with everything you've done, and then just get out on the hand, or just get out on a high note. But it's Donald Trump we are talking about. He's very unpredictable, and the first of many bans. I mean, the first was his social media accounts,
Account, yes,
taken
that's where it
away from
started.
him, and I mean. This actually meant that his days of influence or commanding the world's attention with a push of a button is gone. Okay,
That's the
then
thing.
we saw businesses, Deutsche Bank, pulling away or distancing themselves from him. They no longer want to do business with the
Business, yeah.
Trump franchise. And Deutsche Bank at the moment, Trump owes Deutsche Bank close to 300 million US dollars. Yes. And if he fails to pay those loans,
You can imagine the
he's going to liquidate.
repercussions. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we have that. There's also PG, and PG, trying to distance themselves from Trump and everything that has to do with his golfing activities. And we know Trump loves his golf. I mean, every now and then he's
The,
at Mar-a-Lago.
they're actually moving the the championship that was
So,
scheduled to
PGA
take
tournament.
place there. They're moving it from the Trump Bedminster, and
Okay.
they've not stated where they're taking it to, but they're actually moving it. In a way, they're just distancing themselves from the
I mean,
man.
there's a guy that America was on fire, not literally, figuratively, that is. And you'd expect a president to sit down and address matters, and he was at Mar-a-Lago golfing. So I think now, I mean, he has all the time in the world to golf. So
To golf, I see.
he'll be able to
Okay.
do that. And so I mean, that's Donald Trump in a nutshell. But the fact that he's been impeached, what it means is that his career as a politician is done and dusted.
Yeah, because he cannot come back
Good.
for
It's done and dusted.
presidency.
And the cherry, and the cherry on the cake is, I mean, you see all the privileges extended to an ex-president. He's not going to have a lot. So
He's
even
going to
before
be
becoming
cut off.
ex-president, he has managed to get himself out of enjoying certain privileges.
Well, that is very disturbing, Barry. I mean,
Yeah.
being a president to be impeached twice
Mm.
in one sitting,
I mean,
just one term, you've been impeached twice.
yeah, that's for starters. I'd say that's a record. He had actually set for himself, which obviously is not a good record, right?
Mhm.
And looking at the fact that he wouldn't be enjoying the same privilege as his predecessor. Talk about what's the name?
Barack
Barack
Hussein
Obama,
Obama,
right?
yeah.
And that's quite an unfortunate thing to happen to, the most powerful man in the world. You get it? So this also goes a long way to send a signal to any, anyone, or in the lineage of who's wanting to become the future American president. So it would give you that caution that you do. Yeah, even though that seat, that office is the most powerful office in the world, there are limitations attached to it. I think it has also brought to light that particular instance where you just don't become an American president and you think, yeah, all powers belong to you. Even though being an American president is one of the most difficult jobs, as we've read about and heard of, with respect to how powerful the Congress and the is, and all of that. So, but then still, being an American president makes you the most powerful being in the world, right? But then again, there are limitations. I mean, we've seen the ban on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and even some of his party people actually backlashing him with some of the things, the policies, and the way and manner he's carried himself over the period he's actually served as president. So it's a lesson generally, and he's now coming out to talk about the fact that he didn't send the people to Capitol Hill. His distance. I mean, after
the rally that he held.
Yeah. Look, it doesn't even take a rally. It actually takes a tweet or a comment or something to let them believe that
most of the whole incitement thing is coming from the things he said. Let's march down and take America and show them we're not weak people. So in your mind, probably you may not be thinking this is what I want you to do. But the people are interpreting what you have said.
Which of course it has led to the development where the military have been deployed to protect, the congressmen. Yeah. I mean, there are images all over social media where you see they're actually sleeping there.
They sleep there.
On the floor and everything. And this is some of the results, you get when such an event happens in the United States. And talking about him, losing friends, they taking away his toys, actually a big blow for Donald Trump. First of all, he's a businessman, and that was how he presented himself to the Americans. I'm a businessman, and I'm here to conduct business in the sense that I'm going to make things better, provide jobs, and all of these things. So, away from presidency, yes, an ex-president, but then what about your businesses? Obviously, it wouldn't be the same. I mean, looking at the fact that all of these big giant companies are actually pulling out, and just to save their business from future, accusations of being culprits of sponsoring this and sponsoring that. So they would want to distance themselves, and I think it's not looking pretty for Donald Trump.
Yeah, one thing too is Shopify actually took down his online stores.
Right.
And we've had some of the payments. We have Stripe, PayPal, and Square actually saying they're no longer helping his allies process payments. And interestingly, in the 2016 election, there was somebody who wrote him a letter wishing him luck for results that would give the opportunity to make America great again, the whole MAGA thing. And he spoke about friendship and loyalty. We're talking about Bellick, and he's the coach of the New England Patriots.
Did you get some baseball?
Yes, and he actually invited Bill Bellick into the White House to actually give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Let me guess,
and
he turned him down.
He turned it down. Citing the tragic events of January 6th.
Look, but let's exercise caution here. I just think that, look, this is just classical corporate America at work.
Yeah.
Because look, the thing is, this guy, if you actually wanted to do the good thing, because it's not like they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They realize that, well, there's nothing to gain from associating with Donald Trump.
Yes, nobody wants a damaged brand.
But the business Trump.
Because it's not, look, at the end of the day, let's look beyond the surface. It's just business to these guys.
That's it.
Because, I mean, it's so convenient for them to actually institute these measures now. Yes, fine. He may have tweeted certain things that caused a certain rise, and so it's a quick reference point. But how about all those things before this? Because we've heard of all kinds of, reasons, or they've tried to massage the issues and give all kinds of reasons why they aren't distancing themselves from him. It's not the first time he's tweeted something controversial, but somehow they found reasons to do business with him. Continued. Now, just a few days before he exits office, you're pulling away, and come on, you want a pat on the back? I don't see that, but in the grand scheme of things, let's not rejoice so much over his social media ban, especially because then it's. I mean, because I think if there's anything these sides agree on, it's the fact that these few guys at Silicon Valley have so much power by the looks of it.
That's the thing. They have a lot of power. And just by cutting a few strings, they're actually able to turn the story around and change the narrative that we have on board. Mami Ava. I mean, Trump, Trump, Trump. Trump has been everywhere in the news. He's been everywhere ever since he took office. Like, there's no a day that goes by without Trump.
I mean, Trump is just being Trump. Or
When you put
I
it
mean,
like
you
Trump is
think
just being
you-
Trump.
it's like, in as much as some of the things he did
Mm-hmm.
are questionable,
Yeah.
you think some people would expect him to, because he's the president of the United States, he should assume a personality that is not his. And I think, I don't know, it's like he was just being himself.
Yeah.
In as much as it was questionable, there were question marks in some of his actions, some of his words, some of the things he said at a point in time. I believe he was just being himself. And Trump, I in my opinion, didn't see the presidency as a presidency. He saw it as a business.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a business-minded person. This is a person who came and aligned himself with some of the greatest people in the world.
That's very true.
So it's like, I mean, he was business minded and he was just being himself. It's just unfortunate it has landed him in the position he is right now.
Well, that's very true. One thing is like a parting that I'm realizing is the fact that everybody is able to come up with reasons why they don't want to have anything to do with him anymore.
That's because it's so convenient for them.
Everybody is able to come up with I mean, somebody who actually did not vote for him in 2016 but actually went to vote for him in 2020 is saying that he didn't sign up for this when he actually went to cast his poll. He didn't sign up for this. And it's become so easy that, well, Trump is now the odd one out and let's just take him out of the group. Everything that keeps the business brand looking good. How does this reflect on governance?
How does this reflect on governance? I think the world would take a cue from everything that has happened. Let's not forget. I mean, America has been badly bruised
Yeah.
from this whole incident, and democracy in itself has taken a battering as a result of it. So, because you have authoritarian governments now crawling out of their hideouts and making a mockery of democracy
Yeah.
and taunting America and its pioneers. And so in governance in itself and for pro democracy how do I put it, pro democracy activists and all that, so they will definitely be trying to go back to the drawing board and trying to understand what exactly this whole thing means for American foreign policy, trying to get to talk to authoritarian regimes. Now, I remember yesterday or this week, that is, Uganda currently has its elections. That was yesterday, right? Yes. Yes, and we are told that they had blocked the internet and all that.
Yeah.
America and the U.S. What's the name? The U.S. embassy, the ambassador, yes, Natalie Brown, actually talked about the fact that they were denied accreditation and everything. Now, Uganda and all that didn't seem bought. Previously, they would be like, okay, America is on our case. So you see what's happening. Now, everyone seems to think, okay, I mean, that's America. We've seen them at their lowest. I mean, let's just go ahead and enjoy ourselves.
There's not going to be any much
Exactly.
high-held
Yes. So
this thing
no
to it.
accountability of any sort. So let's just go ahead and do whatever we want, because I mean, that's the guy we've been looking up to and everything. And definitely it's not looking good for governance. Yes. And speaking of that, by extension, in Africa, I mean, Uganda, currently there's an election,
Yeah.
and Museveni is looking to run for the safe time. And unlike Ghana, where we are running a 4-year shift, they're actually doing a 5-year.
5 year, yes.
Yeah,
They
year
do
shift,
5
and
year.
yes, and he's a man that has been at the helm for 36 years.
34.
34, rather,
Yeah,
sorry, 34.
34
Yes,
years.
but there are presidents that have served longer, if I'm not mistaken. Yes,
we've
Paul
had-
Biya of Cameroon. Yes,
Hmm.
yes, he's been at the helm since '82. Yes, and even the longest is it that of Equatorial Guinea? Teodoro. Teodoro has been at the helm since '79. Yes, so he's
Yeah,
actually the
but
second president of the country. So
you see, but the thing is, with Uganda, you actually have the people, some section of the youth actually now calling for a change.
well, look, it's so easy because you see, I can understand. I mean, Uganda has a very young population, and many of them wouldn't see the prime or wouldn't have seen the prime of Yoweri Museveni.
Museveni, yeah.
Yes, because I mean, if you read the books and what history tells you about, Uganda and how they had to deal with the reign of Idi Amin and all that. I mean, so there was a man that had to come in and do the cleanup. Yes, along the line he stayed on in power obviously for too long, because look, there's a simple rule to all of this in leadership: leave the stage when the applause is loudest.
Yeah.
And that's why I applaud leaders that have decided to hand over the reins of power when people were still clamoring for them to stay on. You have the likes of Nelson Mandela and all that. I mean, he could have stayed on, held on to power if he had wanted, and the people would still be okay with it at some point. But the thing is, you would have to give chance to others.
That's true.
Yes, it's the country is not a personal property. Yeah,
But
hey,
I think when Museveni took the time he took over
Yeah.
initially in his prime, he was seen as more like a savior
that's what
to
I'm
the
saying.
youth. Then they saw him as like a new leaf.
Once upon a time,
He was like a godly sent person for them.
and then what happened?
Today they're also looking for Bobby Wine. I
Exactly.
mean, it's
Change is
everybody's
the only
clamoring
constant in
for
life. So
news. Yes, everybody's clamoring for news from Uganda. But Barry, what do you have to say about the whole Uganda situation
I think
right now?
it's not it's more of like a cross section of the public that are actually backing Bobby Wine. It's not everybody in Uganda that is looking to see Bobby Wine elected as the next president, as Hafiz rightfully mentioned. I mean, we've not seen the regime. We didn't hear him talk about Idi Amin, Dada, but we've seen movies that actually narrated the story and how he actually ruled Uganda and everything, and it wasn't looking pretty, per the movie. Even though some people would want to over exaggerate things, per the original story, but generally what we saw is not actually a space that you would want to wish for, even your enemy. Right. But yeah, I mean, Museveni stepped in, and as you said, he was seen as the God sent person who is coming to rescue us from all of these. But then for over 3 decades now, you're still in power, and to the extent of actually changing the constitution to favor, your age is something that's very questionable. Yeah, I mean, it's disturbing. I mean, imagine if for let's say, for instance, and one of those presidents that I think also peacefully handed power was the late former president, our republic, Jerry John Rawlings.
yeah.
I mean, this was even though you'd say other people had their own personal views of him not being in power again, but I mean, he's one person that he was liked by majority.
But not
Even-
to catch you, but do you remember the Hillary man?
Yeah.
When he actually took
But he
he
took
took
And
it
like,
back.
you know what?
Took it back.
It's okay.
took-
let me
he took
just
his pen back.
and it was like he gave him the seat to rule.
Okay.
He was democratically elected, right? But moving forward, the reasons why he gave him power is actually chopping into
Exactly.
the system again. So let me bring it back and put it back in order.
It's like, let me
Okay?
just take my thing and
Yes,
arrange it myself.
Oh.
I mean, that's another history for another time. But then eventually he transitioned. Fourth Republic, thanks to him, we have it now, right? Parliament is running, eighth parliament
The
since he
constitution
exactly,
as well, yeah.
and he was the first president at that time. So it was a great ceremony. I mean, 2000 where he handed over to the former president John Ajikun Kufuor. I mean, I can remember all whites and everything. It was a great ceremony. It was a great time. So these are some of the things we're looking at. But then over 30 years, and now you're running. Fine. If assuming he was just running, that would have been one side. But you're not only running, but you have actually changed the age again, which is of
but
concern
To favor
to most
you.
people.
He's actually said in an interview with
Yeah.
CNN's Christian Amanpour,
Yeah.
saying that look, if he loses fairly,
Mm.
he's going to exit the stage. Well, we've heard that.
Talk-
story.
Wait, can we
talking about-
guarantee that that
talking-
is actually going to
Talking
happen?
about losing,
That's what he
I mean,
says.
I started
Fairly.
seeing
It's one thing to
tweets.
say something.
I
it's
started
another-
seeing tweets on social media Bobby Wine is leading in certain districts and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, per the current,
Numbers.
reports I have, I mean, it seems
For me, I
he's
said
headed
they are
to victory.
unverified.
Talk about Museveni.
Museveni.
I mean,
Yes.
it's like 65% for what I have now, as against 27%. So it's not looking good for Bobby Wine.
Ghetto president.
And believe, the ghetto, the ghetto president. And you'll be surprised to know that there are like I think almost 10 candidates running.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
A lot of them are
We have
independent.
we have about
independent.
we have about I think about 5 independent candidates running, and the rest actually affiliated to political parties. And the stats that I had earlier today, I mean, Museveni was over 1 million, 1.5 million plus, and then I mean, the ghetto president Bobby Wine has 647. That's actually when you want to do the stats, he's like second in line, but the gap is so huge.
And actually,
Well
one thing
respected.
that is also moving around is the fact that Bobby Wine is rejecting the results that have been released by
another
the
issue,
Uganda
and saying
Electoral
it
Commission,
was
saying
rigged.
that there are irregularities in it and in the polling stations. So he doesn't want to. He believes he's leading amid the various.
Well, if you look at the lead up to the elections, I
Right.
mean, he's made all kinds of claims. I mean, before the night before the elections, he had tweeted that 12 guards that had watched over his home for over 12 years had suddenly been relieved of their duties.
Yeah, duties, yeah.
Yes, the night before the election.
Yes.
And today he had actually even tweeted again that he couldn't access the internet, his number, and that.
Yeah,
was
about his phone being blocked
Exactly.
and all of that.
So,
His
I
and his
mean,
wife's and all.
So for someone that has, just for taking part in an election, has had to go through
Through all
these.
of this.
You,
I'm
you should
sure.
expect him to have questions
Yes,
with
he's-
respect to the
he's
results
going to have
that
issues with the
would be
results,
declared,
so.
and that would be declared actually tomorrow by
Yes.
tomorrow Saturday afternoon tomorrow. So let's see what happens. But he's currently, referring to himself as the president-elect, and we are yet
Don't know
to.
how that happens,
I don't
but-
know how that happens.
Okay, as
Yeah.
interesting as the conversation gets, thank you guys so much for joining me on the conversation here. As interesting as it gets, don't forget you can reach us on Facebook, Africa Global Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Global Radio.